Hello, it's Fran from psychicandenergywork.com.au, and this is part 4 of October 2024's video series about the month from a numerological angle. I refer to all of those words in 2 words, and they're the monthly observations. So you can go through to my website, www.psychicandenergywork.com.au, to the monthly observations page, where I introduce each of these videos with some perspectives that are actually not contained here. So flick backwards and forwards, obviously flick to the other 3 videos that have gone before this part 4 to put everything that I'm saying here into greater context. The purpose of this video is to talk about this month's reality numbers. So numerologically, there are 3 main numbers: the birth number, the MO, the reality number. The reality number tells us the final states, the final outcomes on a spiritual, energetic, egoic level, depending on the situation, and how we're responding to life. The outcomes of working with the birth number and the MO dynamics that were outlined in parts 2 and 3, however we do. So some people see it, the reality number, as a picture of retirement. But on one level, every second, at the end of every second, we are retiring. We are finishing up. You with me? And getting ready to start anew. So the reality number is actually talking about what we manifest, whether that is, yes, in old age, the final outcome, or whether it is second by second. As I mentioned in the other videos, we have 2 levels of number numerologically when we look at a chart to do with year or month or day, etc. So we have the generic level, and that is the level that presents, or the dynamic that presents, every time that month comes around. So every October we see a reality number of 43.7. Now, if we then couple October with 2024, we also see a reality of 2170, which reduces to 1. And that's what I call the specific reality number. So if we first look at the generic reality number, 43.7, 7 in itself, it can be read obviously on many levels. 7 can be very much the call to spirituality. 7 is the spectrum that exists between what I as an individual know, irrespective of if we're talking about Fran or anybody else, or even a creature or even an energetic being. It's the perspective of the self, irrespective of its form, from where it is. So 7 can be opinion. It can be what I know, what I've concluded. It can be models, it can be theories, it can be rules even. It can be, I think I've said opinion, it can be judgment. So 7, in a sense, at that end of the spectrum, it's flagging mind. Not because it's the only number that has to do with mind or mind level energy or dynamics, but 7 can be very much that state of I think. And therefore 7 can bring us lessons in how we can sometimes, perhaps if you're anything like me, think a bit too much. Think a bit too much, not necessarily because we're incorrect, but you see, life isn't just about me, is it? Whether it's my me or yours, So life is also about universal me, universal wisdom. So 7 literally flags that spectrum between selves I know and the universes I know. And therefore, the individual's awareness and willingness, and also respect for the need to every so often let go of everything you know, so as to, 1, verify and check it, but 2, to see whether or not there's anything more you could find out before trucking off and kicking into gear with whatever opinion or thought or model that you're running with. 7 as a time can see models and opinions and thoughts overhauled. That doesn't necessarily mean they were wrong or negative. It's just that 7, all numbers, they talk about improvement. They talk about growth. Life is growth, even if you don't want it. So 7 helps us know more, by first asking us to unknow. And one of the best ways to unknow, of course, is through things like meditation, through using time out, even the zero, in a way that is about downing, or should we say releasing, the conversation, the knowledge, the dictionaries, the encyclopedias, the search results that we've already gathered in mind space, and perhaps at this point are locking us in a little bit too narrowly, or a little bit too, should we say, fixedly, in a way that isn't actually serving the greater good, or even our good, as well as what it might. So 7 is the invitation to let go of all you know, to know again, whether that's to get confirmation on what you knew, or whether it is to actually get more on what you knew, or whether it is even, what you knew perhaps it's got a lot of questions over it, throw it out, let's start again. So 7 is wisdom, and 7 is wisdom channeled. So that's interesting, because what I'm not suggesting is that the human being should not know anything at any point, or not offer what they know. But it always pays to verify what we know before we speak it, doesn't it? And that doesn't mean be afraid to speak, but it does mean, again, 7 is that point of understanding that spirituality, and therefore spiritual connection, however we define that, however we practice that and attain that, spiritual connection matters as a balancer and as a feed into what we think, how we feel, how we respond, and of course what we offer as we respond and react day to day. So 7 is wisdom, as a potential, as an actual, and as a state of growth. 7 in that sense can also offer dynamics that are about other people's opinions or knowledge or models featuring too much. And you've got to be wary of that, because of course each and every one of us can be included in that group. At times we are part of the other people who perhaps talk too much, know too much, are too quick to label life, others, ourselves. So 7 can very much be that time that helps us out of those grooves into greater allowing, greater inclusivity, less exclusivity, me versus you, them versus us, better versus worse, snobbery, etc., bias. 7 is an amazing time if we embrace it well. 7 can also see too much fix, too much war, and hello, what a wonderful time to be saying that. 7 is a time that can see belligerence, stubbornness, arrogance, which of course all flow from what I know and what I think, and my, as in any of ours, ability to relax that, test it, and be open to testing so as to come to the right outcome for everyone included. 43 leads to the 7 as the reality in October every time it comes round. So again, 4 being a place where assumptions and models, frameworks, plans, ways of thinking and being, they are all tested, overhauled, reinforced, complemented, celebrated. 3, again, expression. And I say again because if you're lucky, this is the last video of the series you're watching. If you're perhaps not so lucky, now is the time to go through to the other 3, because I have talked about 3 and 7 already in those videos. And I'm not saying that to opt out of telling you more here. I'm telling you because I'm trying to hold those aspects separate so as to not get too repetitive in each part of my video observations for this month. So be aware that 437 is also very mind-oriented. I've said that in part 3. 4, 3, and 7 are all mental numbers, mental dynamics, not because that's all they are, but they can point to mind as a processor, and therefore self as a processor, as a digester, and also as an offerer, an output mechanism for what is thought, felt, known, etc. So be aware that this month may well heighten the mental state in an imbalanced way, but also in a balanced way, so as to help us all to greater wisdom, greater inclusive wisdom, and therefore greater acceptance of ourselves, of everybody else, as each of us being, each element being, an incredibly valued and equal value in the landscape. So that's October's reality number every time it comes around, every year. In 2024, we also see a reality number of 2170. Now, 2170 adds to 10. So that is our third 10-1 in this month's chart. That is a lot of 10-1. 110-1 is enough. Yeah, thank you very much, especially if you have master numbers in your chart elsewhere, whether that's the collective's chart like this month, the 33-6, which I talked about in part 3, yeah, or whether it's in your personal chart, right? 310-1s, that's a lot. It speaks of reinforcement. It also, therefore, speaks in one level of a certain degree of non-negotiability for us all in getting the messages we're here to get this month about selfness, as it plays through us, as it plays through others, as it plays through as an energy and a dynamic. Because it could be said that people only offer what they offer because of what they channel energetically. So at the end of the day, selfness is an energy. It's an energetic dynamic. You could even say it's a being in its own right, and each and every one of us is an interface through whom it plays with choice. So this month, be aware that we are all coming into selfness. We will learn more about selfness in imbalanced ways as well as balanced. Through that, we will help be dared to step into the adult that we know we're ready to be. It's interesting because on that note, it's worth pointing out, sometimes our development is something that we embrace, isn't it? It's something that we run at. It's something that we celebrate. Yeah, it's something we walk away or even move into with a smile on our face. At other times, it's not so welcome. At other times, it's a pain. It's a disturbance. It's an inconvenience. So this is interesting because it also highlights how egoic self plays through us all. In other words, if there is a trouble with the I, me, my, it can get so used to its circumstance or its position. And I mean that as a good thing. We all get used to our position, yeah. And it can also get used to flow as it has been in a way that it starts to predict that. It starts to project that moving forward. Now, if we're on a good run, that's perfectly fine because flow just continues the way it is. But in a year like this year, of course, that can be regularly challenged. And what I mean by that is that egoic self is an amazing projector. It's an amazing forecaster. It's in tomorrow more often than tomorrow needs. And that is an understatement. Yeah? So 1 can also be that lesson, as can 7. Yeah, as can other numbers that I've mentioned in this series for this month. 1 can be a time when we are told on an intuitive level, on a spiritual level, yeah, however it comes, that we really need to just back off in our selfness, in ourselves, not because we need to shrink ourselves or devalue ourselves, but we need to back off and stop forecasting, stop project managing life, ourselves, others. You with me? Events even. Now, project management's a great skill. But you see, like anything, when we get too used to it, it starts to turn in on itself. And one way that, shall we say, I, as an energy, as a dynamic, one way that egoic self turns in on itself often, I'd argue, is through becoming the projector, becoming that aspect of self that thinks it knows what's going to happen next, and even, not even consciously, thinks that what happens next should be like this. Yeah, therefore it starts to move and step with expectation. Now, again, on one level, expectation is brilliant. We should all have expectations. But every so often, especially in a master number heavy period, expectations can come up for review. All of a sudden, life can hold the mirror very closely to the face and go, you're expecting me to be something other than I am. And because of that, you can't see the value of what I'm trying to show you. You can't see the value of the slowdown, the miss, the block, the obstacle, the challenge that's coming your way. Because at the end of the day, all of those words are neutral words. But of course, egoic self in us all, when challenged in a way that we don't ask for, expect, or even enjoy at first, we can all bat them out of our court, or try to at least, as negatives. When in fact, spiritually, there is no negative. There is unpleasant, but there is no negative in the big picture. You with me? There's a negative for now, but there's not a negative forever. And when we're talking about intuition, when we're talking about manifesting, when we're talking about energy and working with energy, helping life become all it can be from our little point of the world, we need to be able to get out of these grooves, out of the shoulds, out of the, shoulds really, out of the projections, and be where we're at, ready to see and willing to see, so that life can show us the more that we're needing to get to the place that we know we're on our way to, as a collective and as individuals. So this month, don't be surprised if expectation, not necessarily your own, because these numbers aren't talking about you alone. They're not just talking about how life's going to help you take shape to that next level. They're also talking about how you're going to be asked to help everybody else do the same, whether that's because you walk on up and actively get involved, or whether it's because you just do it by example, and by energetic example, verbal example, behavioral example. So that 27 or 2170, which reduces to 1, is telling, because even in there we've got the 7 and we've got the 0. The 0 is the need to connect to source, the need to connect to your guidance to get the download. 7 is also that, to get the wisdom to then act as wisely as we can. Yeah? Those numbers in themselves help the 1, because by staying neutral, by staying grounded, and by using breath to allow the moment to speak to us, by using breath to help us position to see all of it, not just our blinkered version, we actually help to manifest life as it can really be. So as I wrap up, really, all of these aspects of this month's observations, video or written, www.psychicandenergywork.com.au for the written version. All of these aspects are saying that this is going to be a powerful month. There are more master numbers than usual. There is lots of repetition, as I said before, on 10-1, relative to usual, And, of course, the chart, it's just wanting selfness to that next best level. That can mean pressure, that can mean challenge, but it can also mean amazing celebration, having gone through all of that, to discover, you know what, I now know life better than I've ever known it before. I now see my path clearer and wider and further than I've ever sensed it before. And I now sense myself as somebody who is, my goodness, I can do that. I can do that. I'm ready to do that. And there are no gaps. There are no flaws. And the universe always supports me. So all the very best to you as you travel through October 2024. Get in contact if I can give you a hand. Go through to the website to read other stuff, read about my courses, etc., etc. Travel well. Thanks for watching. And please let me know how all of this has come across. Take good care. Speak with you next month. Oh, and midway through October, around the 14th, 15th, 16th or so, I'll be posting my monthly update on YouTube and also via the homepage and observations page on the website. All the best. Thank you. Take good care.